Secret of Mana 3D Remake. Released 2018 for PlayStation and PC platforms. Retailing for $39.99. This is of course a remake of the 1993 classic for the Super Nintendo, Secret of Mana. Now with 3D graphics. New music, though you can choose to have the classic music. Voice acting, and a few minor additions, and of course tweaks in various places. But this is a very faithful remake overall, and feels a lot like the original. The game of course starts with you as an orphan living in a village. While playing with some other village children, you get pushed off a log, and end up finding the Sword of Mana. Which seems really strange that this item was just left in the middle of nowhere. We're told it's a sacred and powerful artifact, so it seems like there should have been some kind of shrine built around it. At least a fence or something, some kind of protection for it. But no, it's in the middle of a very shallow pond, and our protagonist picks up the sword and uses it to fight his way back to the village. And apparently, the sword being picked up is all it took to set the world into chaos. As a hole opens up in the village, and you have to fight a giant mantis monster. This isn't a real boss fight. It's impossible to lose, because there's a knight Gemma who's here to throw you items if you get hurt. But once you're done fighting that mantis, you are banished from this village for picking up the sword, which is odd considering you're seemingly the only line of defense for this village at this point. But you're told you need to go to the first mana shrine, which is conveniently closely located to your village. There, you get to talk to Gemma some more, and his message about the sword you picked up is a little vague. On the one hand, he says only the chosen person could possibly have gotten the sword, but then he also says you could probably pick it up because mana has gotten so weak in the world, but no one else can take the sword from you. But which is it? Were we destined to wield this sword? Or were we just in the wrong place at the wrong time? But either way, you're gonna have to go around with your sword to the 8 shrines of mana. Each shrine has a seed from the mana tree, and you need to touch your sword with it. And somehow that will help the world. But that's not all. Each of these shrines will be themed around something. This one is themed around water. The next one you go to is Earth, and at most of these shrines you'll encounter an elemental spirit that will teach magic to your 2 companions. You, as the hero, don't actually get anything from them, which is kind of a letdown, honestly. But speaking of your companions, you get 2 of them. A girl and a sprite. The girl you get fairly early on. Depending on the exact route you take, you'll either meet her in the first major city, or she might save you from some goblins. Either way, she mostly learns support magic, and very much wants to be reunited with Dyluck, a famous soldier that you seem to just keep missing as you travel the world. She seems to think they were an item, but whenever you see Dyluck, he doesn't seem that interested in her, so you be the judge. Your other companion is a sprite. You find them when you have to go deep underground to meet the dwarves. The sprite really just wants to get back to where they came from. They learn mostly offensive magic. In a change from the original, when you stay at inns after major events in the game, you and your companions will actually talk to one another.
What sort of place is Sprite Village?
It's great! I mean, I only just got my memory back, but I'm pretty sure it's great.
These scenes are mostly for comic relief, but they do tell you a little bit about who these characters really are. And if you pay attention, sometimes these scenes will give you hints of what direction to go. As you go around the world to the 8 shrines, you will find weapons along the way. A total of 8 weapons. And every time you beat a boss, you will get an item that lets you upgrade a specific weapon. And every time you upgrade a weapon, you can get to a higher level of skill in it. Up to a total of 8. And each of your characters can use any of the weapons at any given time. Including the sword, which supposedly only the hero was supposed to be able to use. And certain weapons actually do things in the environment and are used for puzzle solving, specifically the axe and the whip. And having options in weapons is great, but in order to get your skill up with them, you have to use them. So becoming skilled with your weapons becomes a very grindy affair. especially if you want all 3 of your characters to become skilled in all 8 of your weapons. Though it may not be worth it to you, as when you skill up you can simply charge your weapon more for a fancy attack, and it's very difficult to charge anything past about the 3rd level. It can be done, but there's a huge element of luck involved, and you still might miss with the attack. Much like your weapons, you have 8 kinds of magic. At first these are elemental, but then you start getting magic that's a little more abstract in concept, such as light, dark, and moon. Each type of magic will give 3 spells to the girl and the sprite. Each time you touch a new mana seed at a shrine, you are able to level up all of your magic 1 more level. So much like weapons, magic becomes a very grindy affair. However, there is a silver lining, as all of the 3 spells in any given type all level up together. Now you still have to level them on each character, but all of the sprite's water magic levels up together, all of his fire magic, so forth and so on. Same goes for the girl. So for every category of magic on both characters, just cast the cheapest spell. It's still gonna be pretty grindy, but honestly it's not as bad as the weapons. But you'll want to do it near somewhere where there's an inn, as when you run out of mana, you're going to need to rest at an inn to get it back. The actual combat here is a little weird, as oftentimes you will hit an enemy to no effect. And this isn't a change made to the remake, this would happen just as much in the original 16-bit version. And also, between hitting enemies, you're going to need to wait for your bar to refill. If you attack without letting the bar fill, you'll either do very little damage, or no damage. There is one big change to combat in this remake, however. When you cast a spell, you need to wait for it to finish casting before you can cast another. This makes fighting bosses much harder than in the original. As in the original, you could chain cast spells, so the boss would suddenly get hit with 10 casts all at once, instantly ending the vast majority of boss fights. That has been removed in this version. Whether or not that is an improvement is a matter of some debate. So, is the Secret of Mana remake worth your time and money? Well, Secret of Mana, in and of itself, is a great game, and this is a way to play it on a modern platform. Some of the additions, though, don't really add anything, like the conversations between characters at the inns, or the new music for the game. I was very glad to see you could turn on the original music in the menu, but the core gameplay of Secret of Mana is still here. You will still go around to the 8 mana shrines, only to find out that the mana fortress has been razed, and you have to fight the mana beast. The 2 things you were actively trying to prevent by going to the shrines. And spoiler alert, you'll still have a very tragic final boss fight, where you find out the loyal creature you've been riding on to get from place to place is actually the mana beast you need to deal with. So yes, I do think this remake is worth your time. I would, however, advise you to wait for a sale, as $40 is a little steep for this game at this point, but when various sales happen, I've seen this game go under $20, and that's when you should pick it up. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.